It is the year 1846, and piracy in the Caribbean Sea is dying. Only the most ruthless pirates remain. On one stormy night, a pirate ship approaches a merchant fishing vessel and quickly boards it. One of the crew members alerts Captain Baden about the pirates, and he quickly slips the gold into his pocket. Then, he orders his men to prepare for battle. But the pirates take down the crew without mercy. In the chaos, they capture Captain Baden. The pirate captain, Connor, confronts Baden and reveals that he has spent years searching for gold that was stolen from him. Holding up the gold bar bearing his personal mark, Connor demands to know how a mere merchant captain came into possession of it, and who gave it to him. Just then, the quartermaster, Lee, discovers the ship's port of origin, Cayman Brack, an emancipated British colony. Connor nods at the information and orders his men to transfer Baden to their ship. On Cayman Brack, the townspeople gather inside the church praying for the safe return of the fishermen, who have now been gone for 59 days. Outside, Baden's wife, Ursel, stands by the shore, gazing out at the sea and waiting for her husband's return. Meanwhile, Ursel's sister-in-law, Elizabeth Baden, is in her bedroom preparing for the arrival of her boyfriend, Weston. Weston slips into her room through the window. He tells her that his ship is sailing the next day and asks whether she has made a decision about leaving with him. Elizabeth admits that she is still unsure. At that moment, Ursel opens the front gate, causing the bottles hanging nearby to clank. Ursel's young son, Isaac, awakens and slowly gets out of bed. Steadying himself with the rope strung through the house for support, Ursel walks to the front door, then pivots toward Elizabeth's bedroom window. Just as she does, she notices that the food on the stove has been left unattended. She calls out to Elizabeth. Then she spots her son and gently guides him back to his bed. He asks if the ship has returned. She tells him not yet, but assures him that it will, and that his father will come home. Eventually, Elizabeth agrees to run away with Weston the next day.
Meet you by the cove at first.
Just then, Ursel knocks on the door. Weston quickly hides, and Elizabeth opens it. Ursel scolds her for not keeping an eye on the coconut sweets she had prepared for Isaac's birthday. Elizabeth apologizes. Ursel decides to make another batch. The three of them later share the sweets together, unaware that a group of pirates is already making its way toward the island. Later that night, Ursel finds Isaac reading a book about pirates. He tells his mother that he feels something is wrong because his father promised to return before his birthday. Ursel calmly explains that the sea is always uncertain. She then gives him a small present his father had left behind in case he was late. Later, she takes a bath, reminiscing about her husband. In the other room, Elizabeth writes a note announcing her departure. Meanwhile, the pirates reach the shore and the first person they encounter is Weston. The next morning, Elizabeth leaves the note behind and kisses Isaac goodbye before slipping away. Sometime later, Ursel awakens to the sound of bottles clanking. Instantly on high alert, she moves toward Elizabeth's room, but instead of her sister-in-law, she spots the pirates approaching her cottage. She immediately secures the front door, then rushes to wake her son. She takes him to a hidden trapdoor beneath the floorboards, grabs a rifle, and sends him down into hiding. Taking position, she aims at the front door. Suddenly, one of the pirates drops in from above, catching her momentarily off guard. Despite this, she strikes him hard with the rifle. Another pirate rushes to defend him. Moments later, another pirate named Scout enters, smiling coldly. He asks Ursel where she keeps the money. She gestures toward a portrait on the wall. Frustrated, Scout shouts that he asked for the gold. Ursel insists they have none. She suddenly takes down one of the men and attempts to escape, but she is quickly caught. Scout places the gold bar in front of her and demands to know where the rest of it is. When she refuses to answer, he orders his men to break her bones, but to leave her face untouched. The next morning, Connor arrives at Cayman Brack. The leader of the island community, Custode, approaches him with a polite smile and asks who he is. Connor introduces himself as Captain Francisco Connor. Meanwhile, the rest of his pirates advance toward the island. On the other side of the island, Elizabeth happily calls out for Weston, only to stumble upon his lifeless body moments later. Pastor Bradley notices Connor and quickly alerts the harbor master to look ahead. When the harbor master spots the approaching pirates, he blows a conch shell, warning the citizens to take shelter inside the church. Custode turns to Connor and declares that he knows exactly who he is: a criminal, a warhound, and a wanted enemy of the British Empire. Connor simply replies, "Aye," and then calmly asks where Baden's wife is. Custode refuses to tell him. Then he tells the men to prepare the bulldog cannon. in an attempt to stop the pirates from advancing inland. Before they can fire, the pirates open fire, and Connor takes Custode down. Back at Ursel's home, the pirates string her up as she whimpers in pain. The men draw their knives, and one of them discovers Isaac's hiding place. Summoning every ounce of strength, Ursel breaks free and swiftly takes down both men with ruthless efficiency. She spots a dagger nearby, grabs it, and uses it to slash another attacker. One by one, she finishes them off. Meanwhile, Connor moves through Cayman Brack with brutal precision, cutting down anyone who resists. A wounded Custode makes one final attempt to ignite the bulldog cannon, but Connor stops him before he can fire. The pirates finally reach the shore and begin moving inland. Elizabeth witnesses their arrival from a distance and quickly hides. Connor greets Lee and the rest of his crew. He announces that no one is to leave the island until he reclaims what belongs to him. Custode warns them that the Royal Navy patrols these waters and bitterly adds that they know how to deal with their kind. Lee coldly replies that only the strongest pirates remain now. Connor then asks where the island's distress signal is located. Custode just laughs. When Connor gestures toward the church and orders his men to fire upon it, Custode finally breaks. He reveals that the signal pyre stands at the far end of the island, atop the bluff. Then, without any hesitation, Connor executes Custode with a cannon blast. Scout approaches Connor and reports that they have subdued Ursel, but are still searching for the gold. Meanwhile, back at the house, Ursel covers the bodies and reassures her son that he does not need to be afraid. She tells Isaac to pack a bag with enough supplies for 3 days. As he is about to gather his things, Isaac notices a gold bar lying on the ground and quietly picks it up. Hearing a noise, Ursel raises her rifle, only to realize it is Pastor Bradley. He asks if she is injured and assumes the attackers are bounty hunters. She grimly tells him they are far worse. She asks Bradley how many pirates have entered the town. An entire gang, he replies. It is then revealed that Bradley and Ursel were once pirates who served under Connor, with Ursel serving as his co-captain. Bradley warns her that Connor is looking for her and that innocent lives are being lost because of it. He insists she is the only one who can stop him, calling her Captain. She coldly tells him never to call her that again. Isaac hands Ursel the note Elizabeth left behind. In it, she reveals that she has run away with Weston to start a new life with him. He then tells his mother he cannot find his dagger. Ursel retrieves it and straps it onto him. Ursel tells Bradley and Isaac to head north. When they find the tree with the moon-shaped mark, they'll see the creek too. She tells them to wait there until she and Elizabeth catch up. Then all of them can make their way to the bluff. Isaac pleads with her to come along, but Ursel gently tells him she has to save his aunt first. Meanwhile, Elizabeth runs desperately through the cornstalks, trying to evade the pirates. Suddenly, someone grabs her from behind. She struggles until she realizes it is Ursel. Elizabeth panics, saying the men have killed everyone. Through tears, Elizabeth tells her that Weston is dead. She apologizes, then tells Elizabeth they cannot return home. Instead, they must make their way to the creek, where Isaac and Bradley are waiting. At the same time, the pirates ransack Ursel's house in search of the gold. Lee turns to Scout and dryly asks if this is what he meant by subduing the woman. He then orders the men to split up and search for Ursel, and commands them to kill anyone traveling with her. Quietly, Connor surveys the house. After a moment, he announces that Ursel has a son, and that the boy is hobbled. In the mangrove forest, Isaac and Bradley find the moon-shaped carving on a tree and wait near the creek, just as instructed. A few minutes later, Ursel and Elizabeth join them. Not long after, Connor and his men arrive at the very same spot. At the creek, Ursel quickly places Isaac and Elizabeth into a small basket boat and pushes them off first. They hesitate in fear, since the waters below are crawling with alligators. Ursel then crosses to the other side and urges them to run. Just then, the pirates break through the trees. Bradley gestures for her to leave. Though it pains her, Ursel retreats. Connor approaches Bradley and greets him by his old pirate name. Bradley calmly replies that he is a pastor now and has found peace. Connor smirks and says a man may trade his uniform, but beneath it, he remains the same. On the other side, Ursel instructs Isaac and Elizabeth to continue toward the bluff, promising she will join them shortly. She then climbs a tree and spots Bradley. Connor demands to know where Ursel is. When Bradley refuses to answer, Connor shoots him. Connor then spots Ursel in the distance. The pirates begin firing at the treetops as she runs. Connor orders his men not to kill her. Several pirates charge into the creek, but a few are dragged under by the alligators. The remaining men press forward, attempting to capture Ursel. She fights back with ruthless precision, taking them down one by one. One pirate lunges toward Isaac and Elizabeth, but Ursel intervenes just in time and kills him. Connor calls out to Ursel by her old nickname.
Bloody Mary!
He tells her he has learned she now has a beautiful family and asks whether they know who she truly is. He suggests they settle this like business partners. In response, Ursel decapitates one of his men and throws the head at Connor's feet. Unfazed, Connor proposes a barter, Baden's life in exchange for his gold. He tells her to meet him at her cottage at dusk. As they retreat, Elizabeth asks where they're going. To the safest place on the island, Ursel replies. They reach the bluff, and Ursel leads them into the caves beneath it. She lights the interior, casting flickering shadows on the walls. She warns Elizabeth to tread carefully since she had set booby traps throughout the caves. Ursel opens a hidden compartment beneath the floor, and they descend into a concealed room. Inside, Isaac and Elizabeth discover the space stocked with firearms and survival supplies.
Who was that horrible man?
Ursel admits his name is Connor. He once served as a colonizer for the East India Trading Company before becoming a notorious buccaneer. Elizabeth asks how Ursel knows them. After a long silence, Ursel confesses that she and her family were indentured laborers when Connor attacked their ship. He took her when she was only 12 years old. Elizabeth struggles to comprehend how a girl could be raised aboard a pirate ship. I had to become someone else, Ursel replies. Bloody Mary, Elizabeth whispers. Ursel nods when asked whether Baden knew the truth about her. Isaac then points out that these gold bars bear the same mark as the one he found at their house earlier. Ursel explains that the gold carries Connor's personal mark. It was meant to remain buried, though she does not know why Baden retrieved it. So you're a criminal? Elizabeth asks, shaken. Ursel meets her gaze.
This criminal is your only hope.
At the cottage, Scout expresses disbelief that Ursel managed to kill so many of their men.
I ain't afraid of no skag.
Lee tells him that while he was sucking his mum's teat, that Sag was a bona fide terror, commanding her own ship alongside Connor until she stabbed him, stole his gold, and disappeared. Later, Lee questions Connor, asking whether their mission is still about the gold. Connor firmly confirms that it is. Lee warns him that he cannot keep sacrificing men simply to satisfy his thirst for vengeance. Back at the caves, Isaac curiously toys with one of the bombs until Ursel sharply orders him to go outside and explore. Elizabeth joins him. Ursel opens the chest and pulls out her old pirate outfit. She slips into it with practiced ease and arms herself to face Connor and the pirates. Then, she bids Isaac and Elizabeth goodbye, sternly warning them not to touch anything while she is gone. Using a hidden shortcut that leads to the well near her cottage, Ursel makes her way back toward the town. Meanwhile, Connor absent-mindedly traces the scar Ursel left on him years ago. Minutes later, he approaches Baden. Tauntingly, Baden asks how many of Connor's men Ursel has killed so far. Connor admits that she is a skilled fighter, a formidable woman. Baden dryly asks if that is why she drove a blade into him. Connor admits it did confuse him, insisting there was a time when they were true partners in every sense. Baden scoffs, clearly not believing him. Surprised, Connor asks whether Ursel never told him the truth. Back at the caves, Isaac and Elizabeth begin snooping through Ursel's belongings, curiosity getting the better of them. Hours pass. Ursel quietly surveys the men scattered around her cottage. Suddenly, Lee's son mutters that he feels death in the air. Quietly, Ursel hurls one of her bombs into their midst. Then she begins taking the pirates down one by one. She finally reaches Baden and rushes into his arms. Desperately, she tries to free him from his shackles. Baden immediately asks about Isaac and Elizabeth. Ursel assures him they are safe. Then Baden confesses that he took the gold in an attempt to find help for their son, to pay for treatment that might allow Isaac to walk again. Ursel's anger fades. She tells him she understands. Outside, one of the pirates whistles for a signal, but no whistle returns. Lee orders the men to spread out and find Ursel. Inside, Baden tells Ursel that Connor has the key to his chains. He quietly asks about her past with Connor. Ursel replies that everything she did back then, she did to survive. Baden tells her it changes nothing between them. She softly answers that her life changed for the better the day she met him. They hear footsteps approaching the door. Ursel slips a knife into Baden's sash and tells him she will make the trade. Moments later, Ursel finds herself surrounded outside. Calmly, she greets Lee. Lee proudly announces that he is now quartermaster. Ursel tells him she always knew he would rise through the ranks. One pirate steps forward, and Ursel takes him out without any hesitation. She warns the others to stay back, or she will detonate every bomb she has planted. Connor steps out of the house and asks, with a smirk, if she's missed him. She coldly asks if he wants the gold. He nods. Ursel cranks the well, and with a creak of the ropes, the chest of gold rises from its depths. In exchange, Connor frees Baden. Then Connor turns back to Ursel, saying they still have unfinished business. Her betrayal. Ursel replies that she only took what she was owed. Connor reminds her that when he first found her, she was a frightened young girl destined for a life of servitude in some Englishman's brothel. He claims he saved her, made her powerful, and in return, she stabbed him in the ribs and stole from him. Ursel calmly apologizes and says she had aimed for his heart. Suddenly, Baden lunges at Connor with the knife. At the same time, Ursel triggers the explosives as Lee shouts for the men to secure the gold. Ursel fights Lee in a brutal clash of steel and fists. In the struggle, she sees Baden losing his fight with Connor. Desperate, she cries out that she yields and begs Connor to stop. Connor ignores her plea and drives his sword between Baden's ribs. Ursel screams as Baden dies. Connor approaches her slowly. She backs away, grabbing a sword, but he swiftly disarms her. He demands to know why she betrayed him. Through tears, she asks why he could not simply take the gold and leave. Connor answers that the gold is for his crew, but what he truly wants is the bounty on her head. Then she triggers another detonator wired to the chest. The explosion tears through the clearing, and Ursel somehow manages to survive. Back at the caves, Elizabeth pieces together the truth from old letters. Baden had once been a deckhand. They met years ago on Cayman Brack, when Ursel was living in hiding after stealing Connor's gold. Elizabeth also discovers that Ursel is not her real name. The real name is foreign, and she struggles to pronounce it. Wounded and exhausted, Ursel limps back toward the caves. Meanwhile, Lee is consumed with rage. He blames Connor's obsession with that woman for the death of his son. He tells Connor that they have now lost both the gold and the bounty. Defying him, Lee orders the men to prepare to leave the island. Connor responds without hesitation. He shoots Lee dead. Turning to the crew, Connor declares that their quartermaster failed to see the true value of Bloody Mary. He speaks of the dying golden age of piracy, of how they once ruled the seas, turned the waves red for kings, built colonies, and lived as their own masters, only to now be hunted like criminals. Then he produces a decree issued by 3 empires, promising a lifetime pardon to whoever captures Bloody Mary. He tells them that through her, they can reclaim their freedom. The men erupt in cheers. Later, Scout informs Connor about a hidden passage beneath the well, suggesting that it may have been her escape route. At the caves, Elizabeth carefully cleans and bandages Ursel's wound. With a trembling voice, Ursel tells her that Baden is dead. Elizabeth then reveals what she discovered, that Ursel is not her real name. She gently says that Connor seems to have taken everything from her, even her name. Then, with quiet resolve, Elizabeth tells her that it is time to take it back. Ursel nods, warning that the pirates will reach the caves soon. They must survive until sunrise, and they should light the signal pyre at dawn so the British Navy can see the smoke and trace it back. Working quickly, Ursel and the others set traps throughout the caves, aiming to take out as many men as possible. Meanwhile, Connor and his crew followed the hidden passage beneath the well. They then spot the blood on the vine and guess that Ursel is inside. Ursel tells Isaac and Elizabeth that if anything happens to her, they must take the catboat and sail to the Big Island. She then locks the inner door and prepares for the fight. The pirates begin infiltrating the caves. One of them turns a winch mechanism and is immediately shot down. The others spot Ursel's position and open fire. As they advance, Elizabeth triggers one of the traps, killing several men in a sudden blast. Ursel continues firing fiercely. Connor shoots back, but eventually, he runs out of bullets. When everything falls eerily silent, Elizabeth cautiously steps forward, only for Scout to attack her. Isaac jumps in to defend her. Elizabeth warns him to run, then struggles as Scout captures her. Despite the fight, she manages to trigger another trap. Rising to her feet, She snatches the chain from Scout, declaring that it never belonged to him. Elsewhere, Ursel cuts down the remaining pirates. When she finally locks eyes with Connor, she runs. Outside, Elizabeth sees that Isaac has successfully pushed the boat out to sea. He calls out that Ursel has lit the pyre. But unknown to them, it was Connor who lit it himself. He tells Ursel that he ignited the pyre so the British Navy would see the smoke and realize that the island had been harboring a notorious criminal, and that his valiant crew died bringing her to justice. The two clash in a brutal, relentless duel. Connor demands that she surrender. She refuses. As the fight reaches its peak, Elizabeth fires at Connor. When he falters for a split second, Ursel seizes the opportunity, grabs a sword, and drives it into him. As he collapses, he whispers, "My Mary." Before falling lifeless to the ground, Elizabeth rushes to Ursel and embraces her. At last, Ursel reveals her real name is Miriam. Out at sea, Isaac discovers the chest of gold aboard the boat.